Yo, what's up, guys? How's it going? Let me turn off my music. There we go. How's everybody doing today? Let me see if I can actually stream from my laptop. I'm trying to do a couple of new things with the setup here. Let's see. All right, let's see. How many of you guys are at home on a Friday evening? Let me know what you're doing at this hour and why you're on the computer. I think for this stream, I'm probably just gonna test out some things here and answer some questions as I try to perfect the live stream output. A lot of new settings here that I'm playing around with. I'm still figuring out exactly what I want to do here. So, hey. Looks like we have one person in the live stream. Okay. I think there's something wrong with my actual OBS stream. It looks like it's kind of slow. So I don't know what's up with that. Okay. Yes, I'm just here to hang out. What's going on? Matej, Adrian, Cervantes. I have a new microphone here that I'm trying to check out, or test out rather. Looks kind of like this. This company called Fine, taking back from the walls. Not sure what I'm gonna do about this, but yeah, I think so far things are working pretty well. All right. And so right now I'm currently working off my laptop here. So James, you say that programming in general does not keep me up at night, but behind the scenes stuff like SEO does. James, what do you do for a living? What kind of industry are you in, and what kind of business do you run? Because I know what keeps me up at night is also things like SEO, running the business, making sure all of the servers are up and running, figuring out the other things that I can do to better serve the users on the website, and also, people that watch the videos on the channel. I know every time I kind of shut down everything in terms of the office area, turn down the computers, head downstairs, take a shower, kind of get ready for bed. There's always a lot of things going through my head on what new projects I need to push out. Something that I always am afraid of doing is slowing down. I know these days it seems like I'm not putting a lot of content out, but I'm working on it. I'm working on a couple of different projects right now that I will announce. Probably 2 weeks from now, I'll have some more things available on the website that you guys can check out. And yeah, so within 2 weeks of time, I'll make sure to try to do my best and announce what those are. Okay, so we're back online again. Shorter hair looks cool. Yeah, it's been a while since I had like super short hair, but if you're not seeing the stream, I think it's because this laptop right here is extremely slow. I haven't worked from this laptop in a while, so I'm not even sure if it's able to keep up with streaming 1080p on YouTube. Yeah, the stream was offline for a little bit. I'm on Comcast or Xfinity internet. It's kind of the best ISP service that's available in this area. So James said you're just doing a contract app during the day, but work on my thing at night. What kind of projects are you guys like working on? I know some of you guys are students, and some of you guys are like working professionals out there. Maybe not particularly in like a software job. So let me know what kind of projects you guys are dealing with. What kind of problems you guys are running into. Do I cut my beard? So I try to shave every day, but whenever I'm not like doing videos or whenever I'm just working on preparing material and not preparing content, don't exactly like maintain a presentable look for the camera. Yeah, it's kind of the pros and cons of working at home. Sometimes you'll just let yourself go and super long hair, not grooming yourself correctly, sometimes not even taking showers for a couple of days. Let me see if I can pronounce this name in Chinese. Su Fei Liu Fei Su. Does your face skin is smooth? Not particularly. One thing that I realized after starting like my own business and I think working just a little bit too much over the past 3 years is that stress really does have a huge impact on your overall health. And sometimes like things like your skin, your weight, your overall energy that you have during the day, all that gets affected in a pretty significant way. So if you're looking to start your own business, I do advise that you do your best to take care of yourself. Otherwise, like you won't be able to maintain that energy that's necessary to maintain a business. Fred in the Netherlands right now, working on 2 big apps in Flutter. All right, nice. No more diehard native. So Fred, can I ask you what kind of Flutter projects are you working on? Like, are they sophisticated enough? And do you find yourself running into problems where Flutter just isn't able to provide the features that you want to build out? Like some of the Flutter SDK, I know isn't particularly well suited for like building out something like an advanced filter camera. I don't know if that's something that Flutter supports right now. I'm thinking about buying a new camera, but I don't know. I feel like cameras are a big waste of money. But when you start doing YouTube for more than a few years, you just find yourself looking at like a shit ton of camera reviews, all these lenses that you can buy for over $1,000 each. And you kind of get lost in like, oh, I need the best equipment out there to produce the best types of videos. But yeah, I think it's more important to focus on the actual content that you're providing rather than like what kind of camera or gear that you have. But having said that, I'm looking at maybe buying like a Sony A7 III camera. I don't know if it's actually going to be any better. I know the lenses are a lot more expensive, but it'll be like the one thing I buy during the year that, is one of those miscellaneous purchases. Hey, Mark, what's good? Same old, same old. Same old, same old. Git push dash F. Git push dash F. What does that really do? Are you forcing the push? That's probably not a good idea. You look super off. Am I doing okay? I just got back from the gym, so maybe that's why. And also this like backlit. The problem with the backlighting is like really weird. What country am I from? So you can probably tell from my accent, right? You can probably tell from the way that a person speaks English what country they're from. I would assume. But it's not always the case. Like, here's an honest question. When you guys first started watching the channel, what country did you think I was broadcasting these videos from? Honest question. Let me see. Can I speak Chinese? 我会讲中文的。你好吗？我是美国人，我会讲中文的，而且我会讲很好的中文呢。大概是这样讲的吧，对不对？How to learn to build iOS with our storyboards? Well, if you want to learn how to build out anything that's not storyboard, the thing about storyboards that I find really strange, or I guess the thing that beginning programmers don't really understand is that like building out UI is pretty trivial. And when I say trivial, what I mean is like most of the time when you're working as a software engineer, just dealing with a UI is like maybe like 10% of your job, or maybe even less than that, like 5% of the job. And the more interesting things, like 95% of your real job of being a programmer, is actually just like writing out code and make sure that the code that you write actually works on the server, push it onto production, make sure you're tracking your bugs, and, actual real programming work. When you're dealing with like things like the storyboards, zibs, and building out the UI, that's just a small part of your job that if you can get that out of the way with the easiest way possible, like find a really good solution that helps you build out your UI correctly and fast, and make sure that your solutions are like, you can actually make your solutions flexible so that you can support any types of new features that your product managers want to build out. Like, you just want to have this library that helps you do that quickly, and then just get that out of the way, and then do the real work of actually writing out the code that processes videos, adds filters on stuff, and maybe even do some machine learning, the real interesting work. But I do understand when you're like when you're starting out iOS programming, you think that the UI is so important, but it's like it's so trivial after a while that not a lot of professional developers actually like want to focus on the UI so much anymore. I don't know, maybe that doesn't make any sense. 你会看中文吗? 你会看中文吗? You guys want to learn a little bit of Chinese? So let me highlight this right here. So the thing about Chinese, the language, is that each character you have to just remember how to say the character, and then along with each character is like a what you call a tone. So with the combination of knowing how to pronounce a letter and also knowing what tone it is, then you can speak pretty like fluent Chinese. If you don't get the tones correct, then you automatically don't sound what you would consider native. So you have to spend maybe a year or two to actually understand what the tones are. And then once you have that down, you should be able to like accelerate your Chinese learning. So this says 你会看中文吗? I don't have the best Chinese accent, so don't quote me on any of the words here. Like here's a phrase that a lot of you guys should learn here. So these three characters right here, 大家好, 大家好. So this is 大家好. Let me type it up. So in like Roman, what is this called? Like pinyin. So it's like 大家好, 好. See, even I can't remember exactly what the tones are, but it's like these three characters translate to 大 4, 加 1, and 好 3. So it's like 大家好. You kind of hear there's like this inflection point on each one of the words. And so as you're speaking faster and faster and combining more and more words into like to create an entire sentence, then you have to like go with the tone of each one of these words to make sure that you sound what is it? Not legible, but to make sure that other people can comprehend what you're trying to say. If you get one of these tones incorrect, then it starts to become like 50-50 whether or not someone can actually understand you. But yeah, that's Chinese. Yeah, it takes a lot of years to actually learn a language. How many of you guys are able to speak more than one language? I'm always interested in like more language learning. I feel like learning Swift is the great thing about learning programming languages is that you have the compiler, and the compiler will help you correct exactly what you're doing wrong. Now, when you're learning a spoken language like Spanish, French, Japanese, or Chinese, you actually have to find someone that can correct you real time on what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. So for example, like having a conversation buddy in a foreign language, that's like probably the best way to actually learn a language. And in terms of a programming language, the compiler is your conversation buddy, partner, whatever you want to call it. And I think that the reason why we can learn programming so quickly is because the compiler is always there, and the compiler will tell you 100% of the time what you're doing wrong and how you can fix it. So that's how we improve on programming languages so quickly. But like from the perspective of a language learning, like spoken language learning, you can accelerate your level of like fluency really quickly if you just have like a conversation buddy to kind of bounce, or it's basically having a buddy to compile your code and tell you whether or not you're doing it correctly, and to figure out what your small bugs are, like if you're conjugating a word incorrectly or saying a sentence wrong, and if you're doing anything wrong with the language, then your conversation buddy / compiler will tell you and will recommend like the fixes. Uh, do I feel rich? Is the question. I don't know. I mean, I don't feel poor. I don't feel rich. The thing about money is that no matter how much money you have, you're always going to feel like you don't have enough of it. And you probably also don't feel like right now, I can literally live like how a king probably lived 1,000 years ago, right? Everything's kind of relative. Now, the thing about like modern times is that everyone else is living like a king also. Like you can buy, like you can pretty much eat anything that you want at any given time of the day. No, like there's been in the history of mankind no other time that so many humans have the ability to just do what they want, like without that much financial impact on their wallet. So, like, even though we live in such an easy time, we still are, for the most part, not like super happy, and we still don't feel super rich because everything is, again, relative. And yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm doing well, and sometimes I feel like I'm not. It's this constant balancing between everything, I suppose. So Pertula asks, what colorful speakers are those in the back? Would like to buy something like that. So we're asking about this thing here. That's actually my Hackintosh, and it's not a speaker. These are the speakers here. So that's a speaker, and that's a speaker. So those two guys are speakers. But yeah, this machine here is about $1,000. Relatively cheap considering that it pretty much runs the entire business. When you start to do fasting, you develop more consciousness about this. Yeah. Oh, my dad's calling me. Let's see. My dad's having some issues with his Windows computer. I guess I'll call him back later. Do I know Taiwan? Yeah. 我大概3年前有去过台北，就是台湾、台北、台中，还有去过宜兰。我今年可能4月份会去台湾，再去旅游一下吧。I want to ask how much salary you get nowadays. Well, here's a question. How much money do you guys think I make nowadays? What do you guys think my annual salary is now? Yeah, and I guess the other question, the follow-up question is, why do you guys even care? I find that like making money, or I guess, finding out what other people make is kind of interesting. $1 billion. From which version of iOS did I start learning, start development? Oh man, that was such a long time ago. I would say the first iPad that came out, I think I had that. Did I have the first iPad? No, I had the second iPad, I think. Whatever happened to my iPad? Did I have an iPad? I can't remember. It's such a long time ago. I would say 2010 was the first iOS version that I started making apps for. And as most of you guys already know, the version of, I guess it wasn't even Swift yet. I was still using Objective-C. And the funny thing is that app written in Objective-C is still compiles. Like you can download that project and just run it, and it runs perfectly. Where it runs perfectly the same as the day I stopped development work on that project, which is pretty amazing to me. Like, you can't say the same thing with Swift. It's kind of rude to ask, but he lives in California, so consider that. Yes. Asking somebody's income is not good. It's kind of rude. Yeah, it's so weird. It's like a pretty taboo subject to like ask people what they make. But so general salary now is like a typical software engineer salary. So I guess typical California software engineering salary. Even though I don't work as a software engineer anymore, but that's typically like that's what the business generates now. And it's growing every day, more and more users, and it's great. Like having the ability to just produce things that are worth something to you guys and for you guys to actually support me. It's a good exchange of my work for your guys's, I guess, money, I suppose. Not that I really care about the money, but somebody has to pay for the computers, the equipment, the internet. And yeah, it's great. How do I manage or handle keyboard management inside a table view? So I don't know. Maybe I'll make a course or an application on that. Yeah, keyboard management instead of table view. There's a couple of options. The best thing to do is to just like straight up use a UI table view controller that handles the scroll content of your table of view for you, so that you don't have to deal with it. But every time I've used that approach, I noticed that you quickly have to deal with other issues that occur. So when that happens, you have to like manually use your keyboard notification observers. It's I would say on the list of things that I hate doing for iOS development, I think keyboard management ranks somewhere near the top. It's like the top one or two things that I hate actually doing on iOS. And off the top of my head, I can't think of anything worse that I would rather not do for iOS development. Yeah, keyboard management is probably the worst thing. Thanks a lot for teaching. Fetch many URLs in the same table view. So I don't know if you watch the like AppStore course, which is linked down below. We use this thing called a dispatch group to fetch like 3 different URLs from the AppStore API. So like we can search for games, popular apps, the highlighted apps of the App Store. You can search for a list of these 3 things, and then we populate the app once all those URLs are fetched. We use a dispatch group to synchronize all of these 3 requests together to notify ourselves when everything's done, and then we reload the entire table view or collection view with the data that we get from the internet. So either check out the course or just like do a simple Google search on dispatch group. You should be able to find the solution to that problem, hopefully, right? There's the thing about programming, I guess, just for like Swift development, there's just so much stuff out there that there's never going to be a course or a video tutorial about it. You have to dig through the documentation a lot. And I think so a lot of people that that I've taught how to program through like boot camps and these courses, online courses, the number one thing that they ask me is like, first they say, I have this problem. I went to apple.com. I looked at their documentation, and they tell me that they can't even figure out what the documentation means and like what the hell the documentation is saying. And obviously, like at my point in my career, I no longer feel that way. But I still remember the days where documentation felt very like it felt complicated, not helpful, and just overall, it felt like it was written for a different, like not the right audience. And maybe that's true, but yeah, and that's funny. It's funny how over the years you just become, at the very beginning, you hate the documentation or the official Apple or Google documentation, you just hate it. And then over the years, you start to understand why it's written that way. And then you slowly start liking the documentation. And at one point, that's all you rely on to learn how these APIs and SDKs work. Yeah. Hello everyone. We have a lot of like Chinese people today. What's going on? It's macaroni. Let me try to read this. Fu Yuan Hui. Fu Yuan Hui. Is that a name? That sounds like a Hui. Or Kuai. Fu Yuan Kuai. Just join. I'm glad to hear how other junior devs feel about documentation. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny because when you join, at least this is my experience, when you join a actual software development company, you'll quickly realize that everyone on the team is able to very, very easily figure out how things work in terms of the documentation, how to get to blog posts that will tell you what the documentation is trying to say. Like everyone really knows what they're doing. And if you don't catch on really quickly, you're just kind of like, you're not what I would call dead weight at the beginning, but you're kind of dead weight. Which keyboard do you use for development? Looking for an external keyboard, preferably Bluetooth. So I don't like Bluetooth keyboards, or do I? Oh yeah, I don't like Bluetooth mouses, but keyboards are alright. But I don't currently use a Bluetooth keyboard. I'll show you the current one I have. Actually, it's still connected to my computer back there, so it's this keyboard called Macally or Mackley. I don't know exactly how to pronounce this, but you can find it on Amazon or any of my videos. Do I link it down below? No, I don't. But yeah, I use a Macally keyboard. It's like a $50 one from Amazon. For the most part, it looks okay. It performs fine. I haven't really tried out mechanical switch keyboards or mechanical keyboards with switches, but something I'm considering into like looking at. So here's a question about imposter syndrome. So let me know if you guys feel like You ever experienced imposter syndrome? For those of you guys that don't know what this is, it's basically when you're kind of new to a particular topic, subject, or just anything in general, and then you join like a group, and that group has been doing that thing for a couple of years, and you're kind of new to it, so you don't know exactly like what you know, what you don't know, what you should know, and how to know what you don't know, and how to figure out what to know, right? So I believe that's in my head. That's what imposter syndrome feels like what you don't know that you don't know, and how do you figure out how to know what you don't know, right? You can kind of see uh, there's always going to be a gap from the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that you should have. And I've experienced this in the past too. Like every time you join a new organization, you definitely feel like, okay, I don't know exactly how the company works. I don't know what the code base looks like yet, but over time you'll get more and more comfortable with how things operate on the day to day, and hopefully the people on your team is able to kind of ramp you up. Or I know, so when you join a software company, they give you at least, I don't know, 3 weeks to maybe 2 months, 3 months to ramp up. And when you first join a company, they don't expect you to start fixing bugs and start developing features. They want you to get comfortable with how, like, the operations of how first thing you want to do is like what source code, like what's the revisioning process, right? Are they using Git, SVN, and figure out how that works before you even start developing features. It's hard. It's hard. Like let's say if I were to become a chef or join a restaurant and try to learn how to cook, right? I would feel totally intimidated by everyone around me that's been cooking and worked at restaurants for the past 10, 15 years. It's an intimidating space to get into. I think you just have to deal with it. Not the best answer, but you have to deal with it. Let's see. Brian, thanks for your videos. I had developed an app after watching your videos, and it is now on the Apple Store. Creating marketing promotion material is keeping me up at night. Yeah. So, there's a couple of different ways to launch a product. And for this channel, I decided to build out like a user base first. So building out the channel, producing videos, getting a user base, seeing if people actually like what I'm producing. And after a year, this channel I think grew to, I think it was 30,000 subscribers after 1 year. Maybe it was like 40,000. And yeah, that was kind of proof that there's a need for this thing that I'm producing on YouTube. So based off that knowledge, you can then build out something that you can, charge people for. And that's one way of approaching business. The other way is to like just develop the software, develop the programs, and just pray, just like fingers crossed and pray that people are willing to stop by and purchase the thing that you're spending all of your time producing. So I would rather go with the first approach where you gain users first and then build something out that you can provide for your users. That to me seems like a safer bet. But it's more of the slow route. Yeah. That's live. So it has only been out for about 4 years. June 2nd, 2014, 4 years ago. Data science would be preferable, but since I'm only 14 years. So I'm only 14 and I have trouble understanding documentation because there are hardly any examples of documentation. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Xamarin versus Xcode. I think I might start doing some tutorials on app code, which is like a Xcode alternative. It's produced by a company called JetBrains, and they actually provide the Android development IDE. So I remember using AppCode for a while. I actually liked it a lot. There were some minor annoyances with AppCode, but overall, I feel like it does a better job at. Uh, it does a lot of things better than Xcode. Is what I'm trying to say here. Brian, your courses are awesome. Nice. Thank you, Spencer Forrest. Have you used Cleans with VIP before instead of MVC? What do you think about it? So I have not used Clean Swift, which is VIP. What is up with programmers and acronyms? I think it's like the most stupid thing ever. Like MVC, MVVM, solid, MVP, MIP. It's so freaking retarded. Like when I talk to other people about programming, I never bring up any of these terms because it's so silly. Do you like the direction Apple's going in? Do you think Apple needs to replace Tim Cook? Maybe. Thoughts? Honestly, I don't really keep up with that. I don't really keep up with Apple all that much, to be honest. And to be really honest, I don't keep up with tech all that much either. Two Ball Cane says, I have tutorial disease where I do all of the tutorials, yet I do not work on my own app. I like to see a course featuring an app based on the coordinator pattern. Yeah. So I think I've said this before on previous live streams. The thing about all of these patterns is that unless you have a project with at least like 300 classes and 300 different like view controllers, you can't really justify why you would use a coordinator pattern. So, and on top of that, if you don't have experience working with a humongous project, then it's hard to understand like, oh, here are the pros and cons with this pattern versus that pattern. And like, why would you even use this one pattern in the first place where you've never seen this issue occur before? Yeah. It's hard to explain all that stuff. Like architecture is hard to explain. Do I use Interface Builder when doing adaptive layouts as it lets you view different devices on the design canvas without building and running? I feel like this is a question that designers will ask. So I've noticed that. So there's obviously a lot of different people that watch the videos on the channel, and some of the questions that you get like are very very strange. As a programmer, I would never think that way. So when people tell me, "Oh, this writing this code for building out this button here it takes so much time and it's like so hard," and as a programmer, you would never think that way. You would just say, "Oh, this is just 3 lines of code, and I can take this and move this anywhere I want. It's really helpful. Why would I do it any other way?" Right? So as a programmer, you would think that way, but as a designer, you would think the other way. So when a designer asks these like designer questions, you understand, oh, That's why they're asking, is because they want to see everything on the screen. And as a developer, we never think that way. As a developer, we think about how the code will help us do that as the result. You see what I'm saying? I don't know. Does that make any sense? Like if you walk into a software development organization, and you walk into the engineering department, you'll see nothing but code. Like literally, you have 3 screens, right? Everyone's on a standing desk nowadays, which is kind of strange, but that's what you'll see in these big places. Like last office I walked into was Slack in San Francisco, and I was like, was I interviewing? No, I was just visiting a friend, and I was walking through the iOS, or I guess the programming area, and everyone just had code on their screens, like a terminal here, 4 IDEs on this main screen, and like a vertical screen with, I guess, a huge ass, with all the simulators on the vertical screen. And like, programmers don't deal with like interface builder for the most part. Programmers don't like we're just looking at code the whole time. If I use StoreKit to implement subscription membership, do you recommend me to store purchase data in a Firebase database? Is there a place on Apple Connect I can track the purchase records? So this is a kind of tricky area that you're getting into. So for every iPhone that downloads an app onto the App Store, right, you have to use your Apple ID. And based on that Apple ID, you can figure out all of your purchases related to any app that's on the App Store. So if a user, like, let's say Tom has purchased, Rocket Pack 1 or Rocket Pack 2 or Rocket Pack 3, and Tom deletes the app, and then he no longer has stored information for those 3 purchases. If he downloads that app again from the App Store, then he's going to want to restore those purchases, right? So at that point in time, there needs to be a button that says restore purchases, and that button will execute code that asks the iTunes API, okay, I know this is Tom's ID or his email. Like, you don't know exactly what that is, but you just ask the App Store or iTunes, and they will tell you which one of your Rocket Packs Tom has purchased before. And so you just have to ask the API. Like, there's an API call that you just execute, and then you run that, comes back, tells you exactly what the previous purchases are. Like, you don't have to keep this information on your servers if you don't absolutely need it. But if you're tracking things like metrics and performance and, what's doing well, I think the iTunes API also tracks all of your customer purchases also. So you don't necessarily have to keep track of this stuff yourself, is what I'm trying to say in a super long-winded way. Thank you. With great love and respect for making awesome, easy to understand tutorials. I remember that I started learning Swift from your channel with absolutely zero knowledge 2 years ago. I learned so much. I learned so much from you, and now using all that knowledge for my job. Awesome. Great thing is now I am a team leader of a mobile app team. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Well, Uday Babaria. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people, even though they're like working as a professional iOS developer now, they're still watching the videos and they're still getting a lot from it. Like they're legitimately still learning a ton of different things from the videos. That's great. Yeah. The thing that's good about Interface Builder is you can prototype things in Interface Builder. I guess. I don't know what kind of screens you can really prototype. Like, wouldn't designers want to prototype things in like Sketch or Adobe XD instead of using Xcode directly? I don't know. Everything has to be done in code at the end of the day. So I should do some videos on design patterns outside of MVC and MVVM. I don't know. The thing with YouTube is that it's hard to produce content that you're not super interested in. Yeah. The things that I really like doing are, what do I like doing? I actually just like building out apps and making sure that they function correctly. Like, that's what I like doing. I don't really care about app architecture, actually. I know I should, but I don't. It ranks very low in terms of priority. But if you're working a job, that actually ranks pretty high. But even then, when you're at a job, there's already a pattern put in place, and you don't really have to think too much about it. Like, some guy has a pattern. He put that in place. You just have to follow that pattern and make sure you don't break anything. That's literally what it feels like to be at a job. On YouTube, you get a lot more freedom, and you don't want to follow any type of pattern, you don't have to do it. What is your dream project? Are there any projects that you really want to be a part of other than doing your own thing, being a teaching legend? So what is my dream project? So I've been thinking about this like a lot this week. And I've been trying to figure out why sometimes I don't like doing YouTube and why sometimes I feel like it's so stressful and such a chore. So I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, I've been thinking, how come this isn't fun anymore? I've been thinking about that. So it's kind of related to what would I rather be doing instead? Because literally now I can just do nothing for the next year and everything would be fine. I can literally just like drop off the face of the planet, leave the website running, everything will be fine. Maybe I just need to take a break. Or maybe moving into this new condo has caused a lot of like unrelated stress. But yeah, so I've been working on a couple of different things for the website. I don't know. I think you guys will like it, but we'll see. We'll see. I find that over the last year, the biggest problem that I've been running into is that the videos take too long to make. So whenever I put out a course, it takes too long to make. And the conclusion that I've come to is that I think I'll just start producing projects without making videos. And whoever wants to purchase the projects will get all the source code. And because you guys have been following the videos for so long, you should be able to just look through the source code and figure out how things work. And the good thing about, like, there's obviously pros and cons, but I would rather build out super sophisticated, complicated projects with a ton of different features. I would rather do that than make videos about how to build an easier version of that project. So that's the conclusion that I've come to, and I've been working on um, like a couple of different apps, and I'll release the source code on the website, and whoever wants to use those projects as templates. So they're basically like template projects, and whoever wants to use those templates will be able to just purchase it and dig through the code, replace certain components, or just look through it and how to break down the features that you want to build out, take it and implement it into your own projects. And I think I'll be doing that for the next 2 to 3 months instead of making videos. And we'll see how that goes. If that's like a sustainable thing, I'd rather do that instead. Like sometimes I just don't feel like making videos because it takes such a long time to edit. I mean, it doesn't even take a long time to edit, actually. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a bitch about it. I really like your work. This might be a weird question, but is it possible if you were streaming yourself coding while you explain your code? So that's, I don't know, live coding. Live coding is pretty easy. I actually like doing live coding, but I think, so I had a Twitch stream for live coding a while back, but not a lot of people were watching it. I mean, admittedly, it was kind of dry and kind of boring. Like, how long can you watch someone code for? It gets really boring after a while. I don't know why you guys keep coming back for more videos. You guys are really good supporters. It's kind of weird and unorthodox, but streaming being a ever increasing market, it might be lucrative to do so. Yeah, the thing about coding is if you're not yeah, live streaming and videos are very different, is what I find. Cubuli. Hello, Cubuli. Any plans to expand and work more with LBT components, specifically the collection view framework? Thoughts on IG List Kit? So from what I've read, I've never used IG List Kit before, but I've looked through the documentation and I feel like we follow, or I actually follow a lot of the principles that IG List Kit follows. I haven't abstracted everything into what IG List Kit has built out in terms of their framework, but like the ideas are kind of similar. So I remember when IG List Kit came out, I don't know, 3 years ago. I was like, oh, yeah, I came to the same conclusion about collection views as the Instagram team did. It's kind of funny. So here's a great question. Am I tired of programming? So programming for me, I never actually get tired of it. But what I do get tired of is, what do I get tired of? I don't know what I get tired of really, but I do get tired of some things. I guess I get tired of building out like the same basic features in apps. I get tired of Swift every now and then. And then when I start working on like Android apps, I feel like, oh yeah, I really like this programming language because it's new. And I get the same thing for like JavaScript also. I don't know. I think I've been doing programming too long to find myself either not liking it or liking it a lot. It all just feels like the same thing to me now. Would I rather be doing something else? Yeah, probably. You know, when I walk into the real world, which is not this space here, I always find myself looking at a lot of different occupations. Like, oh, these cooks here they're making amazing food. Bartenders here making drinks, serving people, doing something totally different. It'd be great to try it out. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll just like moonlight as a bartender and do this during the day. Um, yeah. I don't know if you guys realize this, but I don't actually like talking about programming a lot either. It's kind of ironic because I have this programming channel and this live stream just to talk about programming. In real life, I think I talk about programming 0% of the time. Like literally, I even with programming friends, we rarely talk about programming. Yeah, I think none of us, none, the software developers out here in the Silicon Valley that are there, we're just here to just do our job. We really don't like talking about programming a whole lot. And I guess it's both like, once it's your job, you just don't want to talk about your job. Yeah, I guess you guys probably know how that feels. You seem tired today, out of it. Yeah, I just came back from the gym like an hour ago. Yeah. I have a job interview next week with live coding with a really big company. Do you have any suggestions what to prepare for? Programming is hard. I find programming to be, well, I wouldn't say programming is hard, but programming interviews are unnecessarily difficult, which is unfortunate. You could hire a video editor too, but I understand what you mean. I love your content. It's the best I've seen, and the apps you make are really fun to build. That's good. I think what I'll start doing, I think one of the things I hate about YouTube space is that you can't really be, I guess, non-PC. Well, actually, I don't really care. Some things that I do like talking about a lot is like how like shitty other people's content or how shitty like programming content is in general. Because I guess maybe I'll refrain from commenting on other people's channels. Like outside of, I think the Swift, here's what I'll say. The Swift community does a really good job with all of the different personalities on like the Swift YouTube community. When you look at the other programming channels out there, I think you'll get like one or two person in one programming language that actually is interesting, which is weird. I guess programming in general is just super boring. Clearly raised the bar on programming channels. Paul Hudson stuff too. Yeah, Paul does a good job too. I think the Swift community does a really good job on making videos. Like, remember watching those old Java programming videos that you can watch on YouTube? It's just like some guy trying to walk you through a programming tutorial that's super boring. What do I think about Flutter? I don't know. What do you think about Flutter? I'm getting really defensive now. I feel like every time I go on for too long on the stream, I start getting defensive with the people in the chat. Do I have any apps on the App Store? Nope, I have 0 apps on the App Store. Why would I? Why would I spend my time wasting time on the App Store? I think the App Store there's a really good opportunity for people to make money on the App Store now, I think. If you have a good idea, then you should definitely put something out there on the store. One thing that I would recommend is like actually hire a designer. I would say 95% of app developers don't have a good sense for good design. And what I'll see often on the App Store are like really ugly looking apps. And I mean, it's not your fault. You can't help it if you suck at designing. But what you can do is you can just hire someone for, I don't know, $200, $300 and get something that looks decent. You don't understand. I mean, you probably know, you understand how it is when you do a search, you get a bunch of search results and you download the thing that looks the best, right? And so if you're submitting an app to the App Store that looks like total shit, then no one's going to want to download it. Even if you're submitting it as a profile or a portfolio app, the first impression that the person looking at it is, wow, this is utter trash. So do yourself a favor if you're submitting something on the App Store. Have someone look at the app. Like something as easy as color design and making sure your colors are like they fit together, making sure the spacing is okay, the font sizes are okay. Like it's very simple, but people almost always neglect to pay attention to that. So it's such a stupid thing that people do, but they do it all the time. Who's Toronto playing in the finals this year? I don't know. I think I've lost a lot of interest in basketball or the NBA and in basketball in general. How do you improve your UI UX related skills, or how do you make the app you make look better and better? I don't think there are many tutorials about that. Yep, you're right. There are very few tutorials on how to make your app actually look good. So yeah, I agree with hiring a designer. You don't want to waste the time designing something meh when you can hire a designer to make it look really good and then just code it. Yep. So I've always come to the conclusion that either go to Dribble, or go to the other website called Behance. I don't really know what Behance means, but I think Adobe owns that platform. You go to the website, there's like so many different amazing like application designs that it's just free for you to look at. And just look at how amazing those apps are, right? If you submit anything to the App Store that doesn't look like that quality, it's just shit. You're just submitting shit to the App Store. And if you even present that as your portfolio project, you're doing yourself a disservice. So I guess the reason why I'm saying this is like a lot of people submit apps to me to look at, to review, and it's just shit. To be like totally honest, people just submit shit. And you're like not doing yourself, you're not giving respect to the person that's looking at it. You're not giving respect to the App Store. And you're not giving respect to yourself. You spend all this time coding the damn thing. You have to spend time making it look good also. That's funny. It's just a funny thing to me. Yeah. How to master working with core data in Swift, because I watch a lot of vids about core data, but I'm not going anywhere. So there's a course on core data, which is it down here? Let's see. Yeah, so there's a core data course in the description below. If you want to figure out like an easy example to follow, then look at that tutorial. I don't know what else to say. If you've already watched that course and you weren't able to figure out what core data does, I don't know. Yeah, it's brutal. The App Store is brutal. The real world is brutal. No one's gonna hand you a freaking gold star just because you submitted an app to the App Store. Like that gold star means nothing, really. I know a lot of people tell you to submit just something to the App Store, and maybe that's why you get this crap. You get this ton of like unusable crap on the App Store. But yeah. If you're thinking about submitting your project as a portfolio piece, have a designer look at it, right? Just pay a designer like $20. Tell them, okay, I'll give you $20. Spend 5 minutes, look at it. Do you think it looks good? Then they're almost always going to tell you, no, it looks like crap. Do something about it. And here, follow this guideline thing here, and do this, and it's going to be a lot better. Do you know anyone traveling around working as an iOS developer? I think there's that girl, Natasha the robot, on Twitter that is a traveling developer. I'm not even sure what she does anymore. I don't even think she's a Swift iOS developer anymore. I don't even think she was ever one. Or was she? I think she just had one interesting blog post and then she blew up from that. I'm not sure if she actually does development work, but do tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah, so Natasha the robot, she definitely stopped. No idea what she does now. She does try conference, yeah. Maybe she like just organizes that entire event. And like organizing a conference is not easy. That's probably more interesting than programming, now that I think about it. The thing that makes me demotivated about programming is because it's so boring sometimes. Especially if you're working by yourself, like what I do. It gets really boring. But then again, even if you're working on a team, like you get stuck with really stupid people sometimes. And that's even worse than working by yourself. I'm iOS and React Native developer in travel. Cool. Yeah. I find that when I'm traveling, all I think about is more work. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be great if I can figure out how to enjoy my time traveling and also not think about work so much. Let me know how you do that, or how do you go about like planning out your trips and also planning out your time on working on like a freelance job. How does that work? But yeah, like a long time ago, I went to Shanghai to do like teaching, and literally I can just go anywhere in the world right now if I wanted to. Yeah, I'm not married with kids. I think if I was married with kids, it'd be a totally different story. If I was married, or let's say if I had kids, I probably wouldn't be able to spend so much time on this channel. Maybe I would get like a maybe I would get a real job. The thing about working on like you're on your own company is that it always feels very unstable, even though it's been so stable. Like even like financially, it's been really stable for me. It always feels like it can just fall from under you. Like everything that you worked so hard for in the last 5 years, it can feel like it can go away. It can just disappear and just overnight. Aaron Hawkins says, been watching your videos for the last year and am thoroughly addicted. Cool. You know, when I'm watching my videos and when I'm doing the editing, so I edit my videos at 1.5 or I think it's like 2 times speed. And as I watch everything change over the span of 20 minutes, it gets pretty addicting. Like, oh, this change does this over here does that. And at the very end of the video, everything comes together. Yeah, I do a pretty good job if I do say so myself. I've been watching videos for the last year and thoroughly addicted. I was thinking to teach and do something like you do. Do you recommend it? I would say that just like any other thing in life, give it a try, see if you like it. If you don't, then it's not for you. So for example, the only reason why I've been able to do this for the last 3 years is because it's been easy. Like producing a video on how to program is easy for me. If you don't find it easy, then it's going to be hard. So, you know, capturing the video on your thing, getting a microphone, making sure that you can edit the videos together in a short amount of time. If you can't figure out that workflow, that entire process, then it's going to be hard. So. Can you make a living with this, or do you freelance on the side? So I freelance rarely. Yeah, so I rarely freelance. I'm currently on a freelance project, but I'm not spending too much time on that at the moment because I think I'm waiting on some APIs to be finished, and when those APIs are done, then I'll get back on that freelance project. But for the most part, yeah, the website it's just churning. We get a ton of users every day on the website, and everything's all right. It pays for the condo, pays for that Hackintosh back there that's glowing. Yeah, I think I'd probably make more money if I worked for something like, if I worked for Google or Facebook. Maybe I'd make more money. Who knows? Jose Ramos, do I have a video talking about my setup? I don't think I don't have a video talking about my full setup. And I don't know how people make those videos. The hard things that I experience is when I have a new idea that I want to execute on, right? Like, I want to talk about the machine that I have back there, the mics, the cameras, all this equipment. But once I start, trying to actually film this stuff, I completely just shut down. I can't do it. I talk about coding is really easy, but when I start doing equipment reviews, I don't know what to say. So, yeah, they just, I don't know how people do it really. So for example, you watch videos like MKBHD and Everything Apple Pro. They have this they have this on-camera presence that's it's awesome. I don't know how they do it. Okay, so I'm gonna go on for another 10 minutes, and I'll probably have some dinner and call it a night. Giuliano Alvarenga, do you feel like you had hit a plateau on iOS programming, or could you keep digging, but the benefits of this is worthless? I don't know. I don't know how would I answer that question. It's not a simple answer. Yeah, it's not as I think for in terms of iOS programming, if you don't have a project to work on, you'll feel like you're plateauing. And if you're never working on anything new, then you're definitely not learning anything that you don't already know. So, what I've been trying to do the past 2 weeks is to actually look at different projects and build it out. And I found that to be pretty fun. I don't know if I'm plateauing or not, but some of the projects that I build out are like super easy. So, when it's super easy, it's not that fun anymore. But yeah, maybe I'll do some ARKit tutorials. I don't know what Spring Framework is. Are you from like a Java world? Are you talking about Java Spring? Anna Korzenowski? Is this Java Spring? All right. If anyone else knows what Java Spring is in the chat, press 1. Who knows what Java struts are? J2E, JBoss. What are the other servers out there? Jetty. 0 0. What's the other big server called? Is it JBoss? Or is it called Web something? Philip currently knew. Man. To be honest, I used to work for a big Java company, and every time someone asks me like, do you know what this Java term means? I'm like, no, I don't know what this Java term means. I used to work for this big JVM company that eventually got sold to Cisco. And actually I hated working there. So how to learn any backend framework? I don't know. How do you learn anything in life, really? Like, how do you guys learn programming other than watching my videos on YouTube? Like, how do you guys even do it? Because like, to me, all I do is I just watch. I look at blog posts, I look at documentation, and it feels you get maybe like 20% there through blog posts, and through Stack Overflow, you get maybe 30% there. And the 70% that is left over is you just typing out code and seeing what works and what doesn't. I feel like that's all programming is, really. And some people are able to figure out. Like, I used to work with some super smart people, and they figured out how everything worked in like a matter of days, just like a few hours, and they can just knock out a big feature. Just amazing people. When do you use a UI toolbar versus a UI tab bar? I don't know. Aren't they like really different things? UI toolbar is nothing similar to a UI tab bar. So if you can't figure out what the difference is, then I don't know what to tell you. You want to learn more advanced Swift. I don't know. What do you consider advanced? What do you guys consider advanced? Have I been to New York? Yeah. New York City, Manhattan, Rockefeller Center, Empire State Building. I didn't go up I guess there's the elevator? Yeah, I didn't do the elevator thing. But I went to the 9/11 memorial. That was, a good sight to see. Swift NIO. Yeah. I think if you learned Vapor or any of the Swift server-side architectures, too expensive. Yeah. Yeah. I was there with my brother, and we saw what the prices were to go up the Empire State Building elevator. And we're like, nah, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. Yeah. And then we saw that, 9/11 Memorial is free, huh? Yeah, we'll just check out that instead. What are my hobbies outside of programming? I can't tell you if I have any hobbies anymore. I used to play basketball a lot. That was a fun hobby. And then I stopped playing after I got older, knees start hurting. Now my knees are totally destroyed from basketball. I do think about that. Like, would I trade all those years of basketball for better knees? I think I would rather have better knees. Is MacBook Pro 13-inch 2013 suitable for iOS development on Xcode? I guess. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, the 2013 regular non-Retina MacBook Pro, I would give it like a 5 in terms of development. The quality of development, the experience of it, it's like a 5. How did I learn Swift without having an awesome Let's Build That App guy on YouTube? Or did you? How did I learn Swift? I don't know. I guess Ray Wenderlich was one of the 2 sources online. Like Ray Wenderlich's, their written tutorials were like super amazing back then. I don't look at them anymore, but I think they're still pretty good. And they were the only thing that was available back in the day. But now you guys are lucky. You guys have so many different types of resources available. Or more than you can ask for, really. And it's all free for the most part. You just have to find a teacher that you're willing to follow. And finding a teacher is hard. A good one. Can you explain to me how classes and subclasses and structs are useful in apps? Can you give an example of what you'd use them in your apps for? Sophia, I think if you have to ask this question, the answer I'll give you is probably not going to help. Like classes are, I guess, you have to talk about object-oriented programming first before you can understand the point of classes. Like the whole thing's pretty stupid, but literally objective-oriented programming is a way to treat code like you would treat things in real life. For example, your mother and your father and your brother and your sister. Think about Yeah, let's do a fun modeling exercise. You have a family, right? And you're related to your brother, your sister, your mom, and your dad. But as you can see, the relationship is very different. But at the same time, all of these four different people in your family, they have similar attributes such as a name, an age, uh, what else? Like a profession and hobbies, things like this, right? So you would have to create a class called a person, have some attributes like a name. You would have some kind of like super class, maybe like a male. You know, your mother would subclass a female. Your brother and your father would subclass a male. Or maybe a male's a protocol or some kind of interface. You have to start thinking like this, otherwise you don't understand like what the hell you're doing this for in the first place. And I don't know. I guess I've been doing this for too long that there's no way that you wouldn't think this. Like, there's no way you wouldn't subscribe to this philosophy. I don't know. Does that make any sense? I guess maybe not. All right. So let me end the stream right now. I'll try to figure out when I'm going to do this again. But it was good hanging out with everyone today. And like always, if you have any other questions, do let me know in maybe the next live stream. Or I think a lot of people that watch the videos don't often leave any types of questions in the comments. So whenever I release the next video, make sure to give it a watch. And yeah, just leave a comment whether or not you liked it, or if you hated the video, just leave the thumbs down or something. All right, so that's it for me. I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Bye, guys.